Welcome back. It's after a short break. We are meeting again with the second unit of Standard 9. Maternity is the first lesson in the second unit of Standard 9, and it is written by Lilika Nekos. Lilika Nekos was a Greek novelist, but actually she was a nurse in Geneva. She worked as a nurse during the war time. When there was a war, Turkey war going on, and so many people were killed during that time. She has written so many novels as well as short stories. During wartime, people used to move from one place to another as refugees to avoid the consequences of war. So this story is based on such a refugee camp, and her works are praised for candid and sensitive treatments of human relationships. മനുഷ്യബന്ധങ്ങളുടെ കഥ പറഞ്ഞ നോവലിസ്റ്റാണ് ലിലിക്ക നെക്കോസ്. Now let's move on to the summary of the story. As you know, the story is a bit lengthy story, and it has so many diversions, so it's not such easy to comprehend. The story in Maternity, it has three settings. One is an Armenian camp of refugees. Story. See, this Armenia is between Turkey and Georgia. So if you get the idea of the geographical part, then only you will understand the story very much. So Turkey, in between Turkey and Georgia stays that Armenia. So Armenia is Armenian people from Armenia are called Armenian. Armenian people have come to that particular camp. Another is the camp of Anatolian refugees. See, Armenia is towards the right part. Anatolia, or the Asia Minor. Asia Minor is the old name of Anatolia. So people from Anatolia are called Anatolians. They are in another camp. So this is the geographical structure of that particular place. And the third setting is a Chinese family. See, these are the main settings of that story. And we see a boy of 14 years old named Mikhaili, who is the protagonist of this story. Protagonist is a person who we call the hero of the story, or the main character of the story. The protagonist is a person who takes the story forward, moves the story forward, and he'll be the person who has to face the consequences or the conflicts that arise on his way to become the hero in the story. Opposite of protagonist is antagonist. Antagonist means villain. So protagonist is the hero and antagonist is the villain of the story. From the very beginning of the story to the end, we see that he could not go to work to make his food or to buy food, because he has to find a nursing mother for his starving little brother. He carried that his brother on his back to find out a mother who could give him some milk. So the main characters are Mikhaili, infant baby, the Chinaman, and the China woman. The story contains so many characters, but they are not important characters. The camp of the Armenian refugees was situated outside the town in a village. സി പണ്ട് കാലത്തൊക്കെ നമ്മുടെ നാട്ടിൽ ഈ ഗുജറാത്തിൽ വെള്ളം പൊങ്ങി എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞിട്ട് അഭയാർത്ഥികളുടെ റെഫ്യൂജിയുടെ മലയാളം അതാണ്, അഭയാർത്ഥികൾ നാട്ടിലോട്ട് വരുമായിരുന്നു. എന്നിട്ട് അവരെവിടെയെങ്കിലും ഗ്രാമഭാഗങ്ങളിൽ കുറച്ച് സ്ഥലം ഒഴിഞ്ഞു കിടക്കുന്ന സ്ഥലം എവിടെയെങ്കിലും ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ദേ യൂസ് ടു മേക്ക് ടെൻറ്റുകളൊക്കെ ഉണ്ടാക്കി അവിടെ താമസിക്കുന്ന രീതി ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. They made tents using that tarpaulins or plastic sheets like that. These are refugee camps. That will not be there. See, there will be some tarpaulins or some sheets tied to some sticks, and they'll make huts like this. This is a refugee camp. See, that's what here also. So they led a very miserable life. If they could find out a shelter under carpets held up at the four corners by sticks. 4 കമ്പ് വെച്ച് കാല് നിർത്തി കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ അതാണ് അവരുടെ ടെൻറ്റ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. അങ്ങനെയുള്ള രീതിയിലായിരുന്നു. And they will be lucky if they could find a sheet to hang up at the sides. ഒരു ഷീറ്റും കൂടെ കിട്ടി സൈഡൊക്കെ മറച്ചെടുക്കാൻ പറ്റിയാൽ they will be much luckier people. അത്തരം താമസ സൗകര്യങ്ങളൊക്കെ ആയിരുന്നു, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ സ്ഥലങ്ങളായിരുന്നു അവർ ഉപയോഗിച്ചിരുന്നത്. ആൻഡ് ദ മെൻ യൂസ് ടു ഗോ ടു വർക്ക് ആൻഡ് ദേ മേക്ക് സം മണി ആൻഡ് വിച്ച് വുഡ് ഫെച്ച് സംതിങ് ഫോർ ടു കാറ്റർ ദ നീഡ്സ് ഓഫ് ദെയർ ചിൽഡ്രൻ ആൻഡ് ദെയർ വൈഫ്. സോ ദാറ്റ് വാസ് ദാറ്റ് miserable life they had. As I told you earlier, there was a boy, 14-year-old boy, Mikhaili. He was, all the time he was alone. He could not do anything because he bore his brother a newborn baby on his back. You see, when that boy was born, his mother died. അമ്മ മരിച്ചുപോയി. So there the baby did not get even a single drop of mother's milk. And again the companions, Mikhali's companions will not accept him to join them because they chased him. ഓടിച്ചു വിടുകയാണ് ചെയ്തത്. And at night, രാത്രിയാകുമ്പോൾ this young brother of Mikhali, even though Mikhali is 14, the young brother is only it's only a days born baby, 1 or 2 day born baby. So he started crying and his head went empty. What to do? He did not know what to do. He did not have money to buy some milk and give it to that child. So because of the lack of sleep and weariness and see, the word used by the novelist is deafening burden. ചെവി അടഞ്ഞു പോകുന്ന തരത്തിലുള്ള ബേർഡനാണ്. So it was he was born as a misfortune boy. But even though Mikhali carries him on his back with an expectation that he would see some milking or nursing mother to give some milk for the child. And at night, because of that so loud cries that the boy, that infant boy delivers, the other people also could not sleep. So because of that trouble, the other people thought, pitifully we could say, that child would die. They even wished that the child would die. But this infant baby was not ready to die and it cried loudly. That's the irony there. See, the word used in the text is, or in that particular novel is, even in the famished state, പട്ടിണി ആയിരുന്നിട്ട് കൂടിയും the child was crying aloud. this distracted the women, and they stuffed their ears with their ചെവിയൊക്കെ പൊത്തിപ്പിടിച്ചു അടച്ചു പിടിച്ചു. And Mikhali wandered like a drunken man, not to think of what to do. He did not have any money in his pocket, and he could not find a woman who is in a position to give breast milk to the child. മുലപ്പാൽ കൊടുക്കാൻ പറ്റിയ ഒരു അമ്മയെ കണ്ടെത്തണം. So he became very mad. And the next day, Mikhali happened to hear that a camp that is in another place, a camp of Anatolian refugees. In that camp, there is a nursing mother. He came to know like that. So, and see, these Anatolians also had fled away from Asia Minor because of the Turkish massacres. Massacre means Kutakola. So he went to that Anatolian camp, and when he reached there, he happened to hear the cry of a baby. So he understood that there was a nursing mother. So he went to that house directly. He asked the mother, "Have pity on my child also. Please give it some breast milk." The mother, actually, she was ready to give the milk, but when that boy came there, all the women in that camp came over there. So they asked to take the child out. See, this child is wrapped in cloth and kept inside a cradle type thing, and he has tied it onto his neck. He has put the baby on his back. So they asked him to take the child out. So Mikhali took the child out from that cloth. He unwrapped the cloth, he uncovered the cloth and took the child out, and at that time all the women gave a cry of horror. എല്ലാം ഞെട്ടി പിറകോട്ട് പോയി നിലവിളിച്ചുകൊണ്ട് because this baby was such a ugly figure. See, it had a big head, and so see, only the ribs are seen with a reddish color skin. Newborn babies. So Mikhali also drew back in fright. He was also frightened to see such a figure. All the ladies chased him. They asked him to take the child and go away from that place. They threatened him not to stay even a second in that place. So his eyes were filled with tears, and he did not know what to do. So he moved away from that place again. At last, he lost his hope of giving that child some milk. He reached another place, and when he was sitting there, somebody put his hand on Mikhali's shoulder. He looked up. It was the Chinaman. He knew the Chinaman because this Chinaman used to go to that Armenian camp to sell the materials made of paper. പേപ്പർ കൊണ്ടുണ്ടാക്കുന്ന കളിക്കാനുള്ള സാധനങ്ങളൊക്കെ ഉണ്ടായിക്കൊണ്ട് knick-knacks, that's the word used in the text, ഉണ്ടായിക്കൊണ്ട് ഈ അർമേനിയൻ ക്യാമ്പിൽ വല്ലപ്പോഴൊക്കെ ചെല്ലുന്ന ആളായിരുന്നു ഈ ചൈനാമാൻ. അതുകൊണ്ട് Mikhali was familiar with that person, and he told Mikhali the things and everything that happened, and that Chinaman asked to Mikhali to go with him, and Mikhali followed him, and both of them reached that house, a wooden cabin, which was surrounded by a very small garden also. So when he reached there, the Chinaman went inside, but Migali was not ready to go even to enter into the threshold. Threshold means this veranda. But the Chinaman called him, come in, and when he got in, he saw a cradle, wicker cradle. Wicker cradle means a cradle which is not very modernly made. It is just with some twigs and all those things. കമ്പൊക്കെ കൊണ്ട് കെട്ടി തോർത്തൊക്കെ ഇട്ട് തോണി പോലെ കെട്ടി ഉള്ളൊരു തൊട്ടിൽ, അതിനാണ് വിക്കർ ക്രാഡിൽ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. അപ്പോൾ അവന് മനസ്സിലായി അവിടെ ഒരു കുട്ടിയുണ്ടെന്ന്. ആ കുട്ടിയുള്ളത് കൊണ്ടാണ് ആ വിക്കർ ക്രാഡിൽ അവിടെ ഉള്ളത്. അപ്പോൾ the China woman came out and she told that that's her baby, and she asked Mikhali to look at the baby. So Mikhali went near that wicker cradle and he looked into it. He saw a chubby baby. He was sleeping very peacefully and covered with a gold brocade cloth like a little king. രാജാവിനെ പോലെ ഉറങ്ങുന്നവരെയാണ്, സ്വർണ്ണ തുണിയൊക്കെ ഇട്ടാണ് മൂടിയിരിക്കുന്നത്. സി, so that was the position. And then the husband asked his wife, the Chinaman asked the China woman, and she was ready to accept the child from Mikhali. When Mikhali uncovered that cloth and gave the child, she also drew back. But she was not so much frightened. Actually, it was a skeletonic horror. That's the word used by the writer. It appeared like a skeletonic horror. Actually, she drew back, but she was ready to accept the child, and she put the baby to her heart, giving it the breast. മുലപ്പാൽ കൊടുക്കാൻ വേണ്ടി അതിനെ നെഞ്ചോട് ചേർത്ത് വെച്ചു. ആൻഡ് വിത്ത് എ ജസ്റ്റർ ഓഫ് മോഡസ്റ്റി, മര്യാദയുടെ ഒരു രീതിയുണ്ട്. ഈ പാല് കൊടുക്കുന്ന സമയത്ത് അമ്മമാർ ആ തുണി എടുത്ത് ആ കൊച്ചിൻ്റെ തലയിലൂടെ ചേർത്ത് അങ്ങ് മൂടിയിടും. അങ്ങനെ ഷീ ബ്രോട്ട് ഫോർവേഡ് എ ഫ്ലാപ്പ് ഓഫ് എ റോബ്. റോബ് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ ഡ്രസ്സ്, അവരുടെ ഡ്രസ്സ് എടുത്ത് തലയിലൂടെ മൂടിയിട്ടു. ഓവർ ദ മിൽക്ക് സോളൻ ബ്രസ്റ്റ് and the poor gluttonous infant suckling there. പാവം ആ കുട്ടി അപ്പോഴവിടെ പാല് കുടിച്ചുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുകയായിരുന്നു. So there ends the story. See, this is the story. So it was a very pathetic story actually. But even though there's the writer wants to inform us that human relations, kindness, etc. should have within all of us. We'll now see the Malayalam version of that story, Maternity. And what you have to do is, I will not be reading anything in Malayalam, the Malayalam version. You can read it by pausing the video, read it and move on to the next part, so that you can do. ഓരോരുത്തും വീഡിയോ ഒന്ന് പോസ് ചെയ്തിട്ട് സ്റ്റോപ്പ് ചെയ്തിട്ട് വായിച്ചിട്ട് അടുത്ത ഭാഗത്തേക്ക് പോവുക. ഇത് യഥാർത്ഥത്തിൽ ആക്ച്വലി ദിസ് ഇസ് പ്രിപ്പയർഡ് ഫോർ ചിൽഡ്രൻ who are slow learners, and again because this story is a bit difficult for you to comprehend easily. So you yourself can move on to the next part by pausing the video. Read it and then go to the next part. That's how you can read the Malayalam version of the whole story. Actually, this is the summary of the story. I have given the Malayalam version only for the purpose of slow learners. And as I told you very first itself, this is a difficult story to understand. So if you go through that Malayalam version, that will help you to understand the story, comprehend the story. Then if you read that text once again, after Malayalam version, if you can read the text once again, you can understand the story, comprehend the story in a better manner.